welcome to the first podcast of the new year, the Planet DK podcast. I'm with my friend for many years, Tarus Nelson.
Hey,
Hey, what do you call yourself? CEO, owner, Strive2Tri.
this is a brother out here trying to make it. Trying to lay some good seeds while I'm here on Earth.
All right, that sounds good. So we had done a segment before on Strive when it was in, can we say, the infancy stages?
Yeah.
And since then, it has grown. How many years has it been?
This is year 7.
7? Okay. So we're here this episode to do a Where Are They Now segment to listen to the story of this beginning stages and the growth of Strive2Tri. So that's just it. Where are we now with Strive?
A lot has happened since we had that initial podcast. We were able to expand our offering in the community. We were able to get grants. I think at the time when we initially had talked to you, Strive was primarily funded by, Yolanda and I. That made up probably I would say 95% of the revenue stream to help us be sustainable.
Okay.
And what had happened is we got to the point where it's just not realistic to fund a nonprofit out of your own pocket. So we had to become a little bit more knowledgeable about the nonprofit arena and how things work and how we can leverage the community to help our mission. So we had to learn how to start using tools to learn how to write grants.
Okay.
We had to get a bunch of no's.
Mhm.
We had to learn how to solicit for them and how to build relationships with them. Before we were just this silo of a small mom pop type organization. It was just a feel good story where we just wanted to have an impact. We knew that we had something that was pretty powerful, but we really hadn't honed it all the way to figure out the full scale and capabilities of what it could do.
Okay.
And part of that was because it lacked funding.
Mhm.
And because it lacks funding, that means you couldn't bring in staff, you couldn't bring in people to make sure things are running efficiently, and then there was burnout, and so we ended up getting support from the community. I remember maybe the last time I think we had this podcast, it may have been before we had our season opener at Proud Marys.
Yes.
And I remember distinctly this one moment. We went to the owner of Proud Marys. Her name is Chiquisha Caitlin. And we went there, and we needed a place to try to host our first kind of fundraiser, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't really have any type of organization other than we had a good story that showed people giving back in the community and asking for nothing in return. And she made this poignant moment stand out to me when she said, "If you guys are saying what you're saying about what you're doing," she was like, "Go tell your councilman and get you some grants."
Okay.
And if you're telling me what you're saying this is, you shouldn't have a problem getting any funding. So at that point, we took those words of advice, those key nuggets, and we started knocking on the door council and being relentless about it, saying, "Hey, we just need a meeting. We need 5 minutes of your time.
Okay.
Really need to tell you about what we got going on."
Let me ask you a question there, because I do know a lot of the backstory and the ins and outs, but for the audience, it seems there were a lot of challenges, a lot of adversity in doing this,
Mm-hmm.
and the biggest thing is you're starting and running a nonprofit,
Mm-hmm.
and the word you used was you guys were relentless. Could you tell us a little bit about what personally drove you to meet the goal of making this successful with all the challenges and knowing that there was no promise of a fortune to be made off of this?
We had saw firsthand inside our household because we kind of had put our children through the program without them even knowing. With them being in swim camps, being in triathlon camps, and being around that active lifestyle. Mm-hmm. And after the very first time we hosted a camp, and we partnered with a local swim team, and we kind of saw the model starting to be, cultivated right there in front of us. We knew if we took a group of children, didn't know how to swim, gave them all the equipment and tools, paired them up with other kids that knew how to swim, as well as a uh, a strict kind of a formulated regiment that the training would give, we knew that would yield success.
Okay.
Because of the positive role models inside the camp with the other youth that were able to swim, we knew that positive peer pressure, if you will, would rub off, and they would pick it up so much faster. So after we witnessed that for the first year, we were like, oh, this is something that we have to bottle up, put in with a genie and pass along to everybody. Right. And the returns on the investment were so they were so large and insurmountable. There was nothing that the effort that we put out could be comparable to what we saw with the output.
Okay.
We saw that kids became healthy. We saw their communication skills go up. We saw their grades improve. We saw their physical, composition change. We saw them getting healthier, leaning out. We saw them become more confident swimmers. The mental aspect. We saw all of these pros that came out of the camp, and out of that time, there was no way in the world we were ready to just let it go by. And even still at this point now, as much as we've invested in it, it's more than, monetarily we've gotten back. But just to see all of the impact, it makes it so much well worth it each year, which is why we come back every season, because we see what has happened to the kids that have come through the program. It's not just a free camp where, we let the kids come in there and just put their face in the water and blow bubbles and call it a program. We actually take these kids and show them the model for a successful life and being active, and how that replicates into the other areas of your life. These children, when they go through this camp, by the time they're of 15 years of age, right? So this is the model. We get them between 7 and 15 when they're the ability to get to the camp. We get grant funding, and we get donations, and we get local sponsors and in-kind donations. And what we'll do is we'll pick a school, pick a community, underserved, and we'll adopt them, and we'll bring the 6-week camp to them, or bring them to the 6-week camp, whether transportation within the partnership with the school, or if we come directly to their apartment complex. And we give them the swim apparel. We take all of their metrics, their body composition, their height, weight. We give them kind of like the military. We give them a fit test.
Okay.
How many jumping jacks can you do in a minute? How many sit-ups can you do in a minute? Just something just that simple. It allows them to understand that throughout life you're going to be graded on a scale.
Right.
And based upon your effort, you will be identified as such.
Right. No trophies just for participating.
No, not in the adult league.
You have to earn it.
Not in the adult league.
You have to earn it.
Yeah. That goes good with Pop Warner.
Right.
It doesn't fare over well.
Yes.
So what happens is when those kids hit 15, now they're starting to get into it. So now they're starting to understand that swimming is just the foundation to the rest of the keys to help open up doors in life, right? So what happens is once they hit 15, we go, okay, you've been through this program, you're doing great. Most of them after they do our camp, either they're attached to a local swim team, swim club, because they swimming is a one-on-one thing. Even though you can have individual medleys and relays, but swimming is a one-on-one, you against you, mentally challenging, mental toughness building kind of sport.
Absolutely.
Right? And you hit 16, now it's time for you to take it to the next level. So we help them get their lifeguard certification. Okay. So now that's the key to employment. So instead of being like their counterparts where they may try to get a job at a local fast food restaurant or not really use their time to their full capabilities, we help them get that lifeguard certification because now that shows a level of commitment, and that's a good attribute,
Yeah.
right? So then, if they've passed that, we hire them, we bring them back,
Okay.
and we hire them. So now we employ them ourselves personally through our 6-week camp to help the new group that's coming in.
Oh wow. Okay.
Right? So then that's that feeder program, if you will. So then they'll stay with us pretty much 16, 17.
Mm-hmm.
I can honestly say, and this is one of the attributes I think we're the most proudest of is that all of our kids that have gone on and graduated through our program, graduated high school, college, military, um, fields that have to do with humanities because they've watched how to nurture relationships and how to take care of people as lifeguards. They kind of get into those fields, first responders, police. It kind of you kind of can see the gradual progression towards, them being more connected with the community.
Yeah, I was thinking that.
Yeah.
It's the more they do within the program.
Yep.
They're getting more and more integrated, or just have more awareness and participation.
And the great thing is they see that the community is providing this to them. Remember what I said, what we started off with. They haven't paid for anything.
And that's all.
They haven't paid for anything. We feel that, we should be able to use our relationships and our know-how to approach sponsors and write grants and to seek partnerships and say, hey, we've got a program that, has an impact, has measurable metrics. At the end, we can show you how many kids lost weight. We can show you how they can swim. We can have output from it and produce healthy, quality citizens. Those children really appreciate when they see people in the community that look like them give back to them.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure, and I'm sure you have stories that it also has a emotional and personal impact on the children because when they look around and take everything in, they see how much is and being invested in them, not just maybe the material part of it, but the time and the dedication to enhancing who they are, and not for anyone else's benefit but themselves.
Yeah.
And that leads me into a question about everything you've done and are still doing. Did you see or have a particular model that you came across before in creating Strive, or was it just by progression things you felt should be added to the program that just came from within yourself that you thought would be beneficial? Well, what got you to the point to take all of that to put it in the Strive?
Well, our daughter, I used to be a triathlete back in 19. Yeah. But to give you a little bit of my story, I mean, you know it, but just to tell your listeners, I got into triathlon as a form of physical recovery from a military accident. Um, and it's been one of the most amazing journeys that I've gone through in my life. It helped me to get myself back into condition. It gave me the ability to come out of a state of depression because of being, immobile. And I had such a great community that invested in me. I ended up getting sponsored by Paralyzed Veterans of America, and they gave me an amazing coach that helped me get all the way up to the Ironman level and do races throughout the country. So, triathlon is an expensive sport.
Yes.
And it just happened to be that I had people that were willing to invest and show me the model to help me get past some of those challenges that, we thought that was important. If it could affect me at, mid 30s and have such an amazing influence, how could we bottle it up and, like I said before, put that in the hands of a young person early?
Right.
So my daughter, she started following, kind of my example, and we got her into a youth triathlon camp that was in D.C. It was called Achieve. I think I may have spoken about it before, but it was a pretty amazing program. It was sponsored by USA Triathlon Association, And they went to the inner cities of DC, and they taught children how to do the sport of triathlon. They had, certified coaches in there. They gave them a 6 week camp. They had them for more than we have them. We have them for like 90 minutes. They would have them for an entire summer camp. So it was like 9 to 2, 3 o'clock. It was in partnership with DC Parks and the mayor's office. So the kids got fed. It was a nice program to get them introduced to the sport. They gave the same thing. The kids had swimsuits, caps, everything. But in addition, they gave them bikes. They gave bikes to the program. The kids didn't keep the bikes. They just let them use it throughout the program. At the end of the program, they took the bikes, and then the bikes went, of course, away to storage until next year.
Okay.
Great program again. But I saw there were ways that we could possibly augment it to work a little better in our community. Because I had saw how the bikes came into the program, but then I saw the bikes leave, and the kids didn't have access to the same resources once they came in. So there really wasn't a follow up. Not to say that that was Achieve's responsibility.
So was there like a loss of momentum?
Yeah, because it was like no one was there to take the mantle to kind of keep pushing it along to keep them engaged, because it was just a part-time 6 week thing. So after looking at it and our daughter being in it for a number of years and us volunteering and really supporting it, we said, well, let's bring something like that to Prince George's because there's kids here, children here, communities here in need, and but let's do it how it works for our community. What we notice in our community is we don't have a whole bunch of bike lanes and bike space like that for kids to learn how to do that. It's different when you're in DC and you have closed parks, but we don't have that right now in our immediate area where Strive is kind of housed and maintained. Primarily, communities that we affect are Oxon Hill, Glass Manor. Very dense, where cycling on the street is not ideal. So we figured out let's try to figure out a way where we could get them involved. Similar program. Let's scale it and modify it for our demographic. So the idea was then let's just do splash and dash. Take the bike portion out. Take the bike portion out. Most kids, yes, they know how to ride bikes. The problem in this area is that they don't have bike lanes. Um, Bikes are a little bit more pricey to some kids, maybe in some families. So with the splash and dash, now it's all inclusive. As long as we can work out the logistics and get the pool. And in doing that, we formed a relationship with PG Parks, Prince George's County Parks and Recs. And what happens is now those children are able to get put into a pipeline where there's subsequent classes and subsequent programs they can get involved with until we come back next year. And they've been instrumental in helping us form and bridge that gap to get those children involved. So it's a great relationship. It allows it to work in our community a little bit better, and it doesn't put them in a position where their growth in the sport is limited. And really, what we really want our children to pick up out of it all was aquatics. That's really what we want. Aquatic safety. Bikes is great to bike. It's not going to save your life. But swimming, it will save your life. More than likely, you learn how to swim. It's going to be a generational thing. You're going to make sure your children know how to swim, and so on. So it's like you break the curse.
Yes.
And at the same time, you're passing on something that we were passionate about. My wife and I, love to swim. Our children love to swim, and we, like we said, we saw the program firsthand here with watching them progress.
Would you say after all you've been through and have achieved, because there have been great achievements, I would say personally from knowing you and watching Strive grow, do you feel confident to say you have something that other companies can use as a model, or other anyone interested to model what you've done that could go beyond just this local community and just across the nation and maybe someday across the world? Do you feel confident that you have a rock solid organization?
That's a great question. I'm 100% sure that the program model curriculum that we have created for the Splash and Dash camp can be placed in any spectrum, in any array of settings and be effective. We took the time to create case studies last year to do that. Excuse me, not 2018, 2017. We had 3 camps. We had one on the University of Maryland campus that we had children come to after school. We also had one that was in partnership with Prince George's Prince George's County Public Schools. So we had 40 kids that after school got bused to a Prince George's Parks and Rec facility where our coaches were waiting, and we kind of went through the entire program. And then finally, we put it inside of an apartment complex. It's all in 1 year. Wow. We had a camp in an apartment complex where the children just came directly downstairs. So, the idea was to kind of see the different models, one with a higher educational resource, one within the local county level, within that jurisdiction, as well as going directly into an apartment complex that had a pool in the center of the complex that are rarely utilized. You know, you look out there and sometimes the pools, you'll see them they're damaged, they're not taken care of, which is a deterrent. And so us creating and showing those 3 models in 2017 allowed us to get a grant for 2018 to come to that school, to that apartment complex and do a full camp where we integrated ourselves into a summer camp program. And we said, hey, we know you guys got a camp here. You bring these kids down, and you give them reading, you give them a little bit of physical activities, you give them a little art section because this is in an apartment complex. Excuse me. We just want to interject right here between 1 and 2:30, and we're going to give them structured swim lessons, and we want to report on it, and we want to give all the metrics back to you and the grant approving authority.
That's huge.
And so we formed a relationship with Community Services Foundation, and that's what we did in 2018. And we did that. We did that from a local development council grant, which is a partnership between Prince George's County and the MGM. Oh wow! Yeah. So between the MGM and Prince George's County, they came up with a pool of funds, and it was for nonprofit organizations that were within a 3-mile radius of the MGM National Harbor. And the criteria is that you had to be within the 3-mile radius, and the community that you impacted had to also be within the 3-mile radius. So that meant we couldn't go to the school that was a little bit further. So that's why we went to the apartment complex and went.
You found a way.
You found a way.
That's all right. I have to say, hearing that almost sounds unique to me. I'd never heard of any program that would come into an entire complex to work with the kids as well as the parents to do that. That's pretty awesome. Wow. So the obvious question is, where do you go, or where are you going from here?
Well, we got pretty good at getting local support through grants, but we really hadn't tapped into the sponsorship packages and sponsorship essentials that we really need to be sustainable. You can't live grant to grant to grant, because some of those grants, they aren't filed. New leadership may have a new role. Just as simple as let's move that Michelle Obama had kind of created. When new administration came in, that program got wiped away. So you never know how funding will really be for you. And so that's why we really wanted to reach out to corporate sponsors. So last year we spent a lot of time creating, sponsorship decks to say, hey, if you've seen the output, and you've seen the scores of children that have come to the program, and you've seen the young adults that have come back year after year, even when they're in college, come back just to come in here and coach. You know, the next group that's coming through. And if you see that and believe in it, you know, we need you to come on board and be more than just an observer and come on and get in the game with us because, you know, we're changing lives. We're changing lives. Quite frankly, we're changing communities. You know, when people start to look at themselves differently and look at their community differently, it's infectious. You know, people, you know, and that's the vibe we want to put out to people and let them know. Hey, you know, it's fun to kind of give back to your community. You can still do that. Find out what your gifts and talents are, and interject them somehow. Uh, so this year, 2019, we're going to probably just have one race. We're going to scale back the camps because we haven't gotten funding for the camps. That's what I'm saying. So since there's no funding, we can't move in confidence of perhaps we may get funding and you know and play that game. We're a little bit too seasoned from that. We did it in the beginning, you know, just trying to stay face. But right now, we want people to see that if you know, it won't be there this year. You know, and if you really love it and appreciate it, and you think you value it, help us bring it back. Help us bring it back because it can't be it can't be a small collective. It's got to be a community effort. And you know, if I could be so frank with you, you know, Strive was created kind of through Asia. You know, she was the catalyst to kind of help us, you know, discover Strive. And you know, at first I may have thought in triathlons were a little bit too much to put on a child, you know, because and it wasn't until I started going into it because I never knew about it, you know, and that was great to build that bond and relationship with her. You know, she still coaches to this day. She comes back and coaches.
Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah, she's
she's giving back.
Even as a bachelor, even as someone that's in school trying to get her bachelor's at Bowie State in her second year as a sophomore. She comes back and she contributes, but that was helping us start it. She's grown now. So right now, our connection with Strive has to be a little bit more, you know, from other people as well to make it really be successful. You know, it can't be just, you know, us just trotting along and saying, hey, you know, we've got this great thing. Because, you know, it does take time. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of time. And we're not getting any older. And so this year we're going to limit it to one race. We're going to try to get a bunch of sponsors to actually come on board and support us, and try to see if we can grow the support and grow the partnerships with companies that are really ready to stay on board with us to, you know, whether it be in the health, whether it's, you know, Kaiser or Children's, whether it's global apparel partners like Nike or Under Armour, or, you know, whether it's organizations that have a philanthropic space where they can really contribute to nonprofits that make a change and that have that type of impact.
Awesome. Yeah. I want to go back
because
you know I'm always listening, and you know we talk a lot and talk about many things. And I remember one time we had a conversation while we were taking a short jog, but the importance of regular exercise and how it enhances creativity or just helps with thinking, and there's a lot that can be relieved, negative things that can be relieved through exercise. And you know, as we gotten older, we learned, hey, a simple jog or walk can help you be more creative or just relieve stress and things like that. Do you feel that that's an important key that should definitely be encouraged and implemented in kids? You know, because it was some, you know, what you said a while ago is find out what they're great at, you know, and move forward with that. Do you think that's something that should definitely be, like I said, implemented and encouraging kids, whether it be through school, through the parents, you know, or a combination of all the above, to be part of organizations like this, so they'll just have a different outlets, or you know, have an outlet to start with, and then lead into something else. What is your belief on that? Because I know we talked about it as adults, but
well, of course, we think it's all. I think it's all tied together. You feel good on the inside. It just shines outside. The mental stimulation from working out is just something rather unique. It's just kind of like the central nucleus of everything. Once you start firing off those neutrons and everything gets to working once you start working out. But the one thing that I do want to touch on is that Strive, with our school systems and PE starting to slowly being withdrawn within the school system, we looked at Strive as being the perfect complement. It's one thing if you want to get recess, you want to keep kids active and give them that break to burn off that energy, but that after school time frame, we saw it was very pivotal for us to align ourselves with it. Once they get out of school, we notice that a lot of children have that free time and space, whether they're not with parents, they're home alone, they're in the streets. We want to provide a healthy outlet for them, and pairing ourselves with the Prince George's County public school system last year, in 2017, showed the true benefits of it. Those kids, the structured approach to continuous learning while having a physical activity, associated with it was just insurmountable. When you sat there and you looked at the output and you saw the weight loss and you saw the kids becoming gradually better swimmers and you saw the parents like, hey, you know what? He was in 3 programs last year and really didn't get that output. Or, you know what? We want to get in the water too. and you kind of see how it influences inside the household.
That's the infectious part that you talk about.
Yeah. The kids are the conduit to kind of help the entire family go, hey, you know what? Let's get out and do something fresh and exciting. Let's get in the water. Let's go swimming. Let's take those bikes out the garage that have been sitting there.
Yeah. Yeah, and I will say, attending a few Splash and Dash events, I did recognize, it was like, wow, there's almost just as many adults participating as the kids. And you see it right there. It's like they get the kids into it, and I'm pretty sure a lot of them start off like, yeah, something for my kid to do. But then before you know it, they're in it just as much. And that's a pretty good, thing to be infected by, is that kind of inspiration.
And so remember we said that the triathlon is an expensive sport. And so even adults that want to get involved with it, they go, hey, you know what? I really would, but you say that's $1,000 bike. Right. I don't want to spend $1,000 on the bike, I don't want to, start off with an equipment, I got to take a loan out on.
Right.
So this 2018, we said, even though we had something that was geared towards the children, we had so many adults that were like, I want to do it, and they were just boys, and they were like, I want to get one of the medals, and I was like, these are kid medals, ma'am. And she's like, nah, I want to get one of the medals. How I got to do it? So you got to do the race, and then it just hit us. We was like, hey, you know what? Let's include the adults in 2018, and we had this guy. We had adults do relay races with their children. So, one would do the swim and tag the other person and do the short run. Or you had some race side by side with their parent and do the full, swim and run. But then you had people like John. John was 86 years old. John was an older gentleman, and he came out there and crushed that course. And the look, the look of awe on everyone's face, and the prick of inspiration he put in everyone's heart. That the moment when we had double the amount of parents, I was like, hey, I'm doing this next year. I got to do it. It looked like such a blast, and that's what we wanted it to be. Now it's more of a community engagement event where we partner with Goya Foods every year, and they give us great products. So we get the coconut water and the chips, and they kind of help support us in that way. And that right there, and you've seen it throughout the ages. Strive Splash and Dash is a walk-in Benetton commercial. It's just
Yeah.
everybody's there, and it's just so fun to see everyone come together for that one genuine cause, which is start Saturday off on a great note. Started off health and wellness in mind, and it's a great family event.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. So, if this is too tricky to answer, I understand. So, it's obvious that it's still near and dear to your heart. Is this something that you see you all continuing on as long as you're around? Or how would you feel if, someone wanted to, a corporation, let me just be frank with it, a corporation wanted to, buy the brand and commercialize it? How would you feel about that? And I ask because, when people have certain labors of love, it's kind of hard to let go. And then I know you and your wife's true intent with starting Strive. And just could you trust it to anyone else?
Actually, it's taken a couple of years of prying the grips, you know, of my hands to let it go. But we are ready.
Okay.
We are ready to showcase what we've created and to kind of see how we can get the right partners to kind of help us, even potentially hone it even more. We've had, we've had conversations with USA Triathlon, who've,
that's huge.
Yeah. We have been very visual. I mean, very, very much in front of USA Triathlon. One is because of our locale, where we are, being in such a major metropolis like DC. But at the same time, it's because it's less than 1% minority. And if that's minority adults, I got minority kids here that are doing it. So, right now it just kind of like stood out. And they've really been instrumental in our growth. They've given us grants throughout the years, multi-year grants. They've given us marketing through being on their magazines and their social media sites. Um, helped our races get off the ground by helping us kind of create the Splash and Dash series. They, given us financial support for our camps. So we had to associate and attach ourselves to a national governing body.
Yeah.
We had to because otherwise, it's kind of hard to come out there with some type of credence if no one really has adopted and vetted your programs. So we are ready to get other people involved. You can only, especially with something as pure, innocent as what we've created, you can only scale and grow it to so much, without having to have other hands to get involved. And it's at that point where if it's going to be something that's going to be sustainable, it needs to have other people involved.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
That's good. That's good. So you definitely wanted to grow, and that means bringing in other players. So
absolutely,
right?
Absolutely. This right here is a labor of love.
Yes.
We can't have enough Strive out there because you know what? What is that going to do? Mean we got a whole bunch of more kids that like to swim? Go for it. Yeah. I think it's great. Why not?
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, you got any more left in you for another Ironman?
Oh no!
I just had to get that one in there.
You talking about Ironman? Yeah. But
so that's why you're just a coach now, huh?
Just a coach. I get more joy. I coached adults for a number of years, and I can truly say I get more joy and in a sense of accomplishment when I see these young people when they have these breakthroughs. The very first day of camp, jump off right now, right off, jump right off of the deep end. We have our team out there in the water, but we're just trying to show them, that fear is a mental thing.
Yeah.
So we identify who those kids are, and the one thing we've noticed out of all of them, they all want to jump in the deep water, either they can or they can't swim. So they had no problem running and
Right.
jumping. It's just that we always circle them and have our team out there. But week 2, week 3, and you start to see the transformation, and you start to see them now swimming on their back, because that's the first skill that we're trying to teach them how to do. It's how to get balance, start to use their legs, start to roll over on your back when you get tired, just like you do with infants.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So, is there anything you want to leave the people?
Hey, people, if you don't know, I humbly ask you, take a look at Strive2Tri, www.strive, STRIVE, the number 2, try, TRI.org. We are a nonprofit organization that is in Prince George's County, based out of Fort Washington, Maryland. And what we do is we train youth between the ages of 7 and 15 how to become proficient swimmers through free swim camps. In addition, we also offer pretty cool single day events that we call Strive, Splash, and Dash. And what they are USA Triathlon sanctioned events where we find local pools that are very kid family friendly, so you can stand up in them or you can swim the entire distance. You'll swim a short distance, maybe a 100 or 200 meters. Come out the water, transition, put on your sneakers, socks, shirt, shorts, and you go on a 1K or a 2K run. It's a relatively short distance, but it will challenge you. But the great thing is everyone will be there to cheer you on, and that's the great thing about Strive. The one thing about our races is that that's the important aspect of it, and the message to them that we're trying to show the children. Yes, you're going to have obstacles in life. Some of them may be a little bit more challenging than others, but know that you can grab the rope, grab the wall, you can stand up, take a break. Just don't stop moving. And every time you go throughout life, always know when you look over to your left or your right, you're going to have someone there cheering for you. So you're going to have a cheering squad, whether that's your family, friends, or loved ones. So take a look at us. If you know about us now, please share it. We're looking for partners, sponsors. We love to be able to help this grow because we know the true essence of Strive and what we bring to the community. And we love to share that. So thanks for this opportunity.
Oh, always, bro.
Yeah, so
All right.
we appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure. And that's Strive2Tri, people. Hey, beautiful message and update.
Thank
Glad we
you.
could do this, and there'll be many more.
Absolutely.
All right.
Peace.
Thanks for watching, everyone.